Have you ever had somebody try to set you up for doing good, but in theory, you could bend reality, you could bend time. So you went back and wrote the actual laws that they're trying to set you up with. We can see Jesus do this in John 8. We can see him bend time and reality. In John 8, there's the adulterous woman, and everybody has heard the story. There's a woman brought who's been in adultery, brought to Jesus, not the man, just the woman. And they're trying to set Jesus up. They're trying to see what he would do because they know he's going to have compassion for the woman, but they want to see if he follows the rules that were set into place. So Jesus is there. They throw the woman in the midst of the circle and say to him, "Now the law of Moses commands us to stone such a woman. What do you say?" They were saying this to test him so they might have grounds for accusation for him, but Jesus stooped down with his finger and wrote in the ground. Now, where do I think Jesus went? I think Jesus was at Exodus 31, where the finger of God wrote the first set of 10 commandments. This was not the law of Moses. This was the law written by God before the first set of 10 commandments were busted because the Israelites were worshiping a golden calf. So we go back now to John 8. When they persisted to keep asking him, he straightened up and said to them, "He is without sin among you. Let him be the first to throw a stone at her." And then again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. Where did he go now? Well, if we look at Daniel chapter 5, we'll see that there's a finger that appears on a wall, and it writes an inscription to a king that basically forgot all the teachings of what his father taught him. They are now drinking out of the cups that were found in the temple and just having a big drunken party. So a finger appears on the wall during this party, and he is, like anybody would be, greatly concerned. Well, the queen says, "Hey, there's this man named Daniel that your father knew, and he was really wise." So they bring Daniel out, and he says to Daniel, "Hey, I'm going to give you whatever you want in the kingdom, a gold chain and purple robes and all these things." And he said, "You can keep those things, king, but I will interpret what is this writing on the wall." And the writing on the wall was basically 4 words. And it was, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but it was many tekel uparsin. Uparsin, maybe? Or Perez. Which basically is interpreted, "God has numbered your kingdom and put it to an end. You have been weighed on scales and found deficient. Your kingdom has been divided or given over to the Medes and Persians." Now, I did look this up, and basically, it's 3 sets of Babylonian money. And it is said 2 times, which in Hebrew means that it is happening quickly. And it is 2 shekels, then 1 shekel, then a half a shekel. That might speak to some of you. Anyway, we find Jesus then, of course, coming back once again in John chapter 8. And he continues to explain to the Pharisees about who he is and what he is and how his judgment is. And the Pharisees, of course, are kind of stuck in their ways. They don't believe him. They don't see what he's trying to do. And at the end of their engagement, Jesus wraps everything together at the end of John chapter 8 and says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was born, I am." Well, because of this, they considered that blasphemy. But Jesus was telling them who he was. And once again, we see Jesus messing with reality itself because they picked up stones to stone him when they were right in front of him. But it says Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple. How can you hide yourself when you're right in front of somebody? Or how can you pass through them when you're right in front of somebody? Jesus shows himself being omnipresent and omniscient in John 8. There are two other short videos that kind of go along with this and probably bring everything together. One talks about the first writing of the tablets, and the other one talks about another time where Jesus is bending time, and it's more than I can really describe. So I'm going to put links to both of these videos in the description. Have a good one.